Sweet sugar drips from his sweet lips, that sugar is mine.
Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with Kansas City-based jazz singer Donna Tucker. We caught up with her on April 25th, 2020, during the early intensity of the COVID-19 lockdown to discuss this new world of ours. This veteran singer has a vibrant voice, but also a musical style and enchanting presence both on and off the stage, making her an unforgettable kind of talent. Although Donna is a native of Kansas, she began her career in Dallas, Texas as a jazz singer, pianist, as well as working as a TV commercial actor, voiceover narrator, and recording jingles. She's had a great journey and a wonderful story. Get to know her.
And I think the one reason why I'm doing this, really reaching out, I mean, I think there's a lot of Kansas City artists that I've really wanted to speak to, and there's people that have the latitude, but I think it's a good thing to talk about what's going on and how things are transpiring and all of that. So thank you for taking a minute to talk about this COVID-19 world we live in.
You know, it's something that we've never seen before. I hope we never see it again. And when I was listening to one of your previous interviews, and they were talking about how we've lost our artistic side, our sensitivity to what we do for a living as well. You know, we don't choose music. Music chooses us. And it becomes our soul. And our souls have been kicked. In fact, I hadn't touched the piano for weeks and weeks and weeks, and because there was just nothing inside me that wanted to bring me to that moment. And I walked outside last week, and I was standing at the railing because I spend most of my time wiping tears away, thinking, you know, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. But it saddens me to see these young artists. This is they eat and they sleep. They literally survive on this industry, and it just breaks my heart. Well, I walked outside and I was leaning over the railing, and all of a sudden, a bird flew over and defecated on the side of my face.
Oh no!
And I'm thinking, you know what? Right there was the perfect sign of pick yourself up and get back in there, because this too shall pass. It shall at a great price. But we have to go back in and do what we do best. And not only is it about us as musicians, it's about those who find a lot of solace in what we bring to them. It's not just about us. So we got to get back up on our feet, and we will.
Well, I guess that's the thing. That was one of my main questions. What strength from other musicians and the time that you've spent in music over the years has really pulled you through this time that we're going through now?
I would say that many times, much of the time when something like this happens, we're kind of a different breed. We communicate differently. Our sensitivities are a little bit different, and I think it's the part where we get together and we create. And somehow listening to everyone, all the other artists, as we listen to each other and we communicate, we realize that we're all in the same thing together. We're all in this sadness together. But this is a good time for us as we stay at home to create. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it totally does. Yeah, I agree.
And it's been, there's a lot of pain and there's a lot of sorrow, but we, as anyone else, we've got to keep going. And when you see people, when you see artists, musicians, singers doing live casts from streaming anything from their homes, and especially if they have a PayPal account there, and they've there's a lot of pride at the same time. But if you see a PayPal account on that particular performance that they're giving from their home, please, people, just go to it, and $10, $20, that starts to add up. And a lot of these people have children in school. It's not like they can just go out and say, oh well, I'll do this until this passes over. No, they can't. So that's the one thing that I'm very passionate about, is that when you are seeing the Facebook people doing a mini concert for you, please go to their site and their PayPal and contribute.
So to keep things in context here, give me kind of an overview of your life, where you were born and raised, and how jazz became a part of your life.
Oh, dear. I was born and raised in northwestern Kansas. The town was Oberlin. You had to be going there to get there. But I came from a very highly musical background. My father was a big band drummer during the 50s and early 60s. My great-great-grandmother was a concert pianist in Philadelphia. Singing music has always been my life. I don't remember beginning piano lessons because I can't remember not being able to play. And it progressed from that. It was always the family around the piano. From that time forward, then, you go through high school and you study, and I attended college, and I was a piano major, and decided that was not where I wanted to go, because they would not let me, they wouldn't let me pass through some of those passages of classical music. You couldn't add your own little lick to it, which made them very angry. And so I did not go ahead and finish a piano major. But I ended up in Dallas. I spent many years in Dallas, played with many people that are now among the well-known composers and arrangers, and very fortunate to be there. But I began at a new hotel that had opened, and I had a contract there for 3 weeks, and it was extended for another couple of months. And one night some people came in and they said, we own a club by the name of Arthur's. And I said, yes. And they said, we'd like to hire you to come in, and what would it take to get you there? And I said, well, you'd have to pay out this contract or let me go ahead and fulfill this. Well, okay, no, fine. We'll go ahead and buy out your contract. And I was hired by the Vaccaro family, who owned several restaurants. And Arthur's was a highly recognized jazz club in Dallas. And I had a contract for 6 months, and I stayed 11 years. And some great people came through there with me. Pat Coyle, the pianist and composer, a great jazz pianist. He was my pianist. Other people came through there to play. Grogan Boys from Dallas. Roger Holmes did a lot of arranging for me for big band. I have an entire concert of big band material that I commissioned for myself, which I don't get to use anymore because of the limitations of being able. We have to pay these people. And we don't mind doing the volunteer thing a few times, but asking them to do it otherwise is really not the way to go. So I had a lot of big band concerts in Dallas. Did a lot of television, a lot of work with the March of Dimes while I was in Dallas, National March of Dimes, and LA concerts televised. And it just migrated into this world of, literally, the world became my stage. I was traveling for Southland Corporation. I was contracted to do live concerts throughout Canada and the U.S. And then some years later, I also taught at the collegiate level and developed vocal jazz programs for various universities. And ended up going to Japan I was going back and forth for 8 years, 3 and 4 months at a time I would stay. 1 year I was there in and out 6 months. But I headlined at the Westin Tokyo and had a delightful experience getting to know a culture that's very, very educated in American jazz. And some of their very favorite songs, or my favorite is from the American Songbook. And as was theirs, and much of the audience were very young jazz students at the University in Tokyo. And it was amazing to find out that our music is truly universal. I had musicians that spoke no English, I spoke no Japanese, but when it's on the page and you're in the moment, it's our language together. So it's been a great. I've had a really, really very fortunate, very, very blessed life.
It's interesting. I've asked Japanese musicians, and I've asked people that have been close to Japan about why is there such almost like a worship or reverence for jazz, and I never really get a solid answer. I even get from them, I've never thought about it. They grew up there. The only real answer I got from somebody at one point is that the way they practice their theology, because it's Buddhist, is different in a way of idol worship, and they almost look at musicians as gods. And that's the closest I got to any definitive definition.
That's interesting. My take on it, from visiting a couple of the schools, was they for many, many years, so very many years, have been trained classically. And being able to deviate from that written page, they find is magical. Someone who can improvise, someone who can pick up a piece of music and I'm this way and feel more than what is on that page is, of course, some people believe that is one of those things that you either have or you don't, but much of it can be taught, not so much taught as it, other than, I think it's more being able to play and play and play, and you find your style. And because of their very straightforward classical training, it's hard for them to remove themselves from that page and just let their heart sing. That was kind of the impression I got from the musicians that I got to know there. But they're, it's all over the world. It's a different thing. You've got the European jazz. You've got the I know in Sweden you've got a different type of genre, and thank goodness for this country giving that genre or this genre to the world, because it's universal.
Absolutely. So we're all going to eventually get out of this. I guess that's the ambiguous question, is exactly when, but we will, and we're going to be back in the crowd, and musicians will be back on stage. So my question is, what revelations or what notions do you hope we gain from this time away from the music when we do return?
Number one, my number one complaint today is the lack of social etiquette when people go to listen to live music. I haven't played clubs in several years because I just haven't been home, but I find it humiliating and insulting to the musicians on that stage when people sit in that club and they yell above the music, or they're talking to the people at the next table, or it's, oh, let me tell you this, and all of a sudden you hear this huge chorus of laughter coming that had nothing to do with somebody on the stage playing My One and Only Love. So I'm hoping that there's an appreciation. It's not that I don't feel that the audience don't appreciate us. I just feel that they need to get back to the fact of, aren't we lucky to have these people here in front of us, and we have the honor of being here. So let's give them the respect of what they deserve. That may sound cold and callous, but it really hurts. It really hurts me when I walk into clubs, and that's what I hear, is this constant chatter. So that's just my opinion, Joe.
No, I get it. I get it. Any other revelations you hope we get when we come back? Anything that's revelatory as far as, you know, our lives, so that, you know, we just hold on to it? Yeah,
we get back to understanding what the word gratitude is. We have a couple of generations, or one right now, that is, there's such it's instant gratification. They want everything now. What about I go out on the deck, and there's been a standing joke about intervals and birds. And I've been out there, and I listen to, I can understand the cardinals talking to each other. I can understand, well, you know, quote, unquote, I understand the blue jays screeching at somebody. I even hear the squirrels just bantering back and forth, and you hear intervals, you hear musical intervals. So when we say music is everywhere, it's there. So people, I just want everyone to take the time and reflect and realize how precious this world is that we have. And teach your children, because children watch. They see what you do. They may not hear what you do, but they see what you do.
Absolutely. Well, hey, thank you for reaching out. Thank you for getting back with me and to talk about the music. It's a very surreal, peculiar time. Hopefully it's the only time we have to go through with this. So I appreciate you talking about the musicians and things related to music.
Thank you, and I enjoy your show.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest singers in Dallas, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. Thanks to Donna for being honest, open, and for her story. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Sugar.
Neon Jazz.